On the Throttle is brought to you by SportBikeWrench.com. Performance Parts. Professional advice.
Okay, we've re-energized Richard Stamboli from Attack Performance with a Monster Energy drink, and he's going to carry on with some rear sets. Now, the first thing you told me was a feature about the breakaway thing, so tell us about that.
Okay, on our rear sets, we were the first company to use this ability. You've seen maybe some guys have done in the past in racings. They've drilled some holes in there. What that does is, if you have a crash, a light crash, let's say, it'll break away the tip of the peg instead of tearing away the rest of it. What we've done is we've put a series of deeper grooves in here. So we have a reinforced base, and then we have a series of deeper grooves. So depending on the type of crash you have, it'll break away at different parts of the peg, giving the rider something still left when he picks the bike up to ride on. Also, the other feature that we have is we have a tip that folds, much like motocross. But this is a big saver for not only the fact that the tip is still there, but your lever won't fold around. Of course, nothing is guaranteed in a crash. I mean, the bike hits hard enough, it's going to tear everything off. But this gives you a lot of survivability. Our guys, for instance, Jamie Hacking crashed at Sears Point, going for the lead, picked it up and still finished, I think, inside the top 10. And that was because all his stuff was still there, or his peg only tore away slightly. He was able still to come in the pits, get re-teched, and back out, and still be able to finish very, very respectively and gather points. It's very important when you're racing for a championship. And so the folding tip, the ball bearing lever, of course, gives you a lot of longevity in the lever without any slop. So it gives the guy a really precise feel when he's going to shift. Same with the brake, precise action. And we use stuff like carbon fiber and mix up a lot of different high-tech materials when we make our steps. We make them a little bit lighter. All of our material here is 7000 series alloy aluminum, which is a greater expense, sometimes double the cost than 6000 stuff the other guys use. But it's much more durable, and you can make it much more lightweight. So you get the strength, the durability, and the weight savings. So it's been a pretty good seller for us, this particular model. A lot of guys are very happy when they purchase it.
The sacrificial end of the peg is sort of like a happy medium when we were talking before between that and the stalker that folds, because when you're riding this aggressively, you can't have it folding up.
Yes, I mean, pro riders, amateur riders as well, they use a lot of force on these pegs, and so as they're changing body position and they're moving their feet around, they'll fold the peg by accident. That throws their line off, throws their concentration off, so you need something very rigid. This is their office. The handlebars, the seat, and the pegs are their office, so you have to have a comfortable office for the rider, and they need to know where their photographs are at, on the phone. So this is a very important part, and it goes along also what we were talking about earlier was the cleats on the peg. The cleat design is very important as well. As you see on our peg here, we have a smooth section here so you're able to move your foot around for shifting. Then when you get to the edge of the peg during cornering, the cleats get more aggressive as you get to the end, even the tip for guys who ride with their ball their foot on the very edge of the peg. And we also have a couple different lengths as well, because some guys prefer really short pegs and some guys prefer really long pegs for leverage. So this is a very important part of racing, actually. Is one of the very first things when we hire new riders. They're always asking for a different handlebar position, different grips. They move their pegs around, hence the adjustability to go from, once we find the adjustability, pretty much you're set. But some tracks we found, like in the old days with Jason Pridmore, the more you raise the pegs, the faster he went, because he had a tendency to want to almost touch his toe feelers. So he kept raising them, just about till he crashed, and then put him back one, because he just kept going faster every time he raised the pegs. It was kind of a interesting little side effect. But yeah, like I said, this is their office, and they might not even realize what they're doing, but it's very important. So the adjustability comes in handy quite a bit.
What's, in terms of adjustability that you see, well, I'm trying to fish in here for what's the most important part about the adjustability? Is it the up and down? Does the average guy need to pay more attention to the angle between the shifter and the peg, or how close it is to his heel, or it just doesn't matter, just whatever you feels good? It
is basically based on per rider, but also for the motorcycles. A lot of times where they sit against the gas tank versus where their feet are can help leverage how they put their body weight against the motorcycle. So if you move the pegs back, it's easy for them to push off forward. If you have the pegs forward, it's easy for them to change direction. So they can adjust and see how much. It's something that maybe a lot of guys are tied up with all the rest of the aspects of the motorcycle, but if you have a motorcycle that's really, really dialed in for your feeling, you can start messing around with some of this stuff and see if you can change direction easier, or if you can get over the front of the bike easier for acceleration and things like that, based on tracks. Some tracks are stop and go and need to place your body forward a lot. And so it might give them a little bit of an opportunity to get up on the pegs and get forward a lot easier. So they may move them back, move them up. A lot of taller, lankier riders want them down a little bit lower so they can extend their legs and change direction a little bit easier. Some guys can fold up real easy, and they want them real high for ground clearance. So it all depends on what you're doing. If you tend to run your bike really low, you may want to raise your pegs for ground clearance, those kinds of things. So the adjustability comes in pretty important. Most of the time, we have a comfortable setting. You'll end up with a fairly comfortable place. But we found in the past that if you have a rider that's all set up, and then he's complaining about something, and you just move his peg, and it's all good. Instead of changing the geometry of the motorcycle.
Change his geometry.
Change his geometry a little bit, because the rider actually is so heavy in relation to what we're changing as far as geometry of the bike. He can bias the weight of the motorcycle much more than we can, changing the suspension a few millimeters.
Well, thank you for education number 1000, I'm sure, in a list of many.
Yeah, it's no problem.